Hello there, happy Sunday friends. How we all are doing today? So today is a very interesting topic. We are going to cover an in-memory cache service from Amazon, which is called as Amazon ElastiCache. So first of all, let's quickly discuss what are its features, how it works, its different types. So let's first understand what is Amazon ElastiCache. So as the name itself suggests, it's cache. So cache you mean so caching is nothing but in memory, or you can say a key store, key value store. Okay, where say let me give a use case. Say we have a database which is very read heavy, so instead of every time the application going to read from the database, which is normally on the hosted on the disks, so there will be a middle tier or middle layer you can see, and that is called as caching. So we have everyone is aware of what caching, what is caching. So normally we are doing the SSD, the disks are being used as a caching, so that can perform to serve the read heavy traffic. So as the name itself suggests, it is a fully managed Redis and Memcached compatible service delivering real-time cost optimized performance for modern application. So here Redis and Memcached are the open source in-memory services, and what Amazon ElastiCache do is Amazon ElastiCache is built upon Redis as well as Memcached. So these are two different variants that we are going to discuss further in this topic. So ElastiCache scales to hundreds of millions of operations per second with microsecond response time and offers enterprise grade security and reliability. So main function of ElastiCache is it has one of those features that it scales automatically to millions of operations per second. So it's very fast, you can understand, and it performs the microsecond response time. So this is especially useful for say applications which are very read heavy application, say such as chat rooms or say leaderboards or gaming applications where we need the fast response. In such particular cases, ElastiCache is very useful. It improves the performance of web applications by allowing us to retrieve the information from a fast managed in-memory system instead of relying entirely on slower disk-based databases. That's what we just discussed. And this is completely managed by AWS, and it offloads all those management, monitoring, operation of in-memory environment. Okay. So how we can do is Amazon ElastiCache is we can we need to create the cluster that we can see in the after logging to AWS management console. We can create the cluster by either using AWS management cluster or CLI or API. So there are several ways how we can achieve. And once this cluster is provisioned, Amazon ElastiCache automatically detects and replaces failed nodes, providing a resilient system that mitigates the risk of overloaded databases with slow website and application load times. Say for example, a cluster is nothing but collection of nodes. So when we create Amazon ElastiCache cluster, say we can create either it for Redis or Memcached. So we can define the nodes, underlying nodes, how many nodes that will serve as in-memory database. And say there are say for example 5 node cluster we have set up, and one of the node may get failed. Even in that case, it will be automatically detected and replaced. The failed node will be automatically detected and replaced by cluster itself. So we don't need to do anything, and it will manage at its own. Okay. Now talking about some more features, so we can integrate Amazon ElastiCache with Amazon CloudWatch. So if you are not aware about what is CloudWatch, this is a monitoring service. It monitors all those metrics, so you can check out my previous video on CloudWatch to understand how the CloudWatch functions. And we can integrate ElastiCache with CloudWatch, and what it will help us is it will help us to provide enhanced visibility into key performance metrics associated with the nodes. Say in the previous case, say if node is not responding or node is getting failed, or so all those metrics will be monitored by CloudWatch so that we can get to know what happened at the backend. Okay. So these are some other features. As we discussed, it is mainly useful in the read heavy application workload such as say social networking. We need to get a fast response in that case, gaming, media sharing and QA portals. and some compute intensive workload as well, such as recommendation engine. So all these, there are several applications or use cases where Amazon ElastiCache is very useful. We can achieve 99.9% SLA with multi-easy deployments and achieve disaster recovery in less than a minute through cross-region replication. This is very important, friends. So see, we can not just create the cluster in one particular AZ, but we can deploy it in across multiple AZ, that is multi-AZ deployment. And how it will be benefited is, say entire AZ, some of the nodes at entire AZs are down, say this is will be the worst case. Even in that case, our cluster will be operational, because there will be replication that will be happening from one AZ to another AZ availability zone between the all those nodes, and hence those nodes will be scattered between the AZ, and it will take care even there is say each situation when one entire AZ is down. Even that case, cluster will be operational. So this just not only help us to improve the performance, but the cost also, instead of going for the disk based solution, so in memory database also helps us to improve the cost or optimize the cost. So it can be scaled, or scaled up or scaled down as per requirement. And even we can build the applications, say we can build the applications quickly using the popular. So Redis and Memcached are, as we discussed, are open source technologies. We can use Amazon ElastiCache is built upon both of them, and we can continue. And there are several AWS services, say relational database service, DynamoDB, okay, Lambda. There are lots of AWS services that can easily get integrated with this application. So that is very useful. So now let's talk about what is Amazon ElastiCache for Redis. So as we covered earlier, there are two variants: Amazon ElastiCache for Redis and Amazon ElastiCache for Memcached. So the basic difference is, as we are going to cover further in this topic, for now you can just understand Memcached has it's a very simple solution mainly used for web application, and Redis offers some more features, advanced feature over Memcached. Both are the variants of Amazon ElastiCache. So Amazon ElastiCache for Redis is fast. Again, it is fast in-memory data store that provides sub-millisecond latency to power internet scale real-time applications. Okay, it is built upon open source Redis and compatible with Redis APIs. ElastiCache for Redis works with Redis clients and uses the Open Redis data format to store data. Yeah, so it can it uses the basic Redis, because this is ElastiCache for Redis, so it uses the open source Redis and its clients that can be, we can continue. So that can be, we can start directly using the Redis in case of Amazon ElastiCache for Redis, and it is self-managed. Okay, let's now see how it works, how Redis works. So as you can see, the internet scale applications, say the applications such as gaming, ride hailing, media streaming, dating and social media, where we need very fast data access, okay, very fast response. In that case, you can see Amazon ElastiCache for Redis, this sits in between the architecture. You can see it as a middle layer, okay, and it delivers. And how it functions in this case is, it will be having it uses blasting fast in-memory data store for use as a database, cache, message broker and queue. It store ephemeral data in memory for sub-millisecond response. Yeah, so it's not just works as a caching service, it can also work as a messaging queue, you can say, or use as a database or cache. Okay, there are lots of features it serves. It's not just about, it's not just limited to in memory or caching there. And as you can see here, store ephemeral data. Ephemeral means something which is short-lived or short-term. So it's not like whatever the data has been stored in this Redis, ElastiCache for Redis will be left or it will be there for a long time. It's not the case. It's ephemeral, that is used for the short term. So this is used for the use cases such as real-time transactions, chat, BI and analytics, session store, gaming, leaderboards and cache. So these are the use cases where especially Amazon ElastiCache for Redis is heavily used. Now let's understand the another variant which is we discussed sometimes back, that is very simple in terms of features, that is called as Amazon ElastiCache for Memcached. So Memcached again, it's built upon on Memcached open source. It's in-memory key value store service that can be used as a cache or as a data store. So function wise, both serves as like Redis and Memcached both are working as the same. Only the options like in terms of volatility of data and richness of the features. So it delivers the performance, ease of use and simplicity of Memcached. And ElastiCache for Memcached is fully managed, scalable, secure, making it an ideal candidate for use cases where frequently accessed data must be in memory. So wherever any application that demands the frequently accessed data should be there in the in memory only. Okay, in that case this is particularly useful. It is popular choice for use cases such as web, mobile apps, gaming, ad tech and e-commerce. So these are some of the use cases and features of Memcached. Now let's understand what is how Amazon ElastiCache for Memcached works. As you can see, as a end user, and while we are trying to access a web server, say, so normally in the web server it might be having 2 or 3 tiers, like say application tier is there, middle like the processing tier, and third will be database tier. So this Memcached works with the database tier, and it will fetch the data from database tier and serve to the upper layer, that is application layer, so that every time we don't need to go to the database to read the data. Okay, so this is basically for primary and standby databases. So ElastiCache for Memcached can be used, and ElastiCache Memcached works as an in-memory data store and cache to support the most demanding apps requiring sub-millisecond responses. So that is mainly Memcached is used. Now let's understand what is the difference. Like we have seen there are some of the features in Memcached and some other features reach in Redis, but let's understand what is the basic difference. As you can see on the screen, so there are several features which Memcached supports, and again there are some more features that Redis will be supported. The first feature is sub-millisecond latency. So both Redis and Memcached supports these both features. Another option is developer ease of use. So again, the ease of use for developer is supported by again Memcached and Redis. So this is basically see, it supports lots of both Memcached and Redis supports various rich set of libraries, so that developers can just focus on their working on the application. They don't need to worry about underlying memory solutions, etc. That is mainly the developer ease of use feature is. Data partitioning is yes for both, because data will be partitioned across both in memory like Memcached and Redis. Support for a broad set of programming languages, both supports this. Say broad set of programming languages like Java, Python, etc. So there are lots of programming languages supported by both of them. Advanced data structure, Memcached do not support it, but Redis do. Multi-threaded architecture, it's Memcached supports, but Redis do not support. So in that case, you can see multi-threaded means it will be data will be, say, there will be multiple processing, or you can say multi-threaded operations. You might be aware. So it will be, the operation will be divided, and each core will take care of one particular thread. So that is supported by Memcached, but Redis do not support it. So the other features like snapshots, replication, transaction, publication, subscription, geospatial support these all are supported by Redis, but Memcached do not support it. So talking about snapshots, say using snapshot we can take the backup in the data store, backup the data that is stored in the Redis. So particularly if you need to restore the data say in the event of failure, that can be used. We can take the snapshots of the entire cluster, and while we restore it, we can create several new cluster out of that snapshot. So snapshots, you might be aware, it is a point in time copy of that entire data. I have already covered the snapshots and backup operation in database. You can check it out how it works. Replication, this is basically when the multi-AC environment is set up. We discussed we can set up a cluster in the multiple availability zone. Say we have a node, 4 node cluster, we can set up 2 nodes in one availability zone, 2 in another availability zone. So that is called as a multi-AC deployment. In this case, there will be replication from nodes in one availability zone to nodes in the availability zone. So that is called as in sync or synchronous replication. So at any point of data, the data will be in sync between all those nodes, and the replication is enabled for that. Transactions, yeah. So Redis supports the transactions, publications or subscription. Again, this is the feature that Redis support. Geospatial support. This is feature. Say we need to if we need to find a distance between a person and a particular place. In that case, normally geospatial is a feature that is useful, and Redis supports that. So friends, now as we discussed and covered the thing, let's summarize before we can see how we can set up a cluster. As you can see, Amazon ElastiCache is a web service. You can see it's an in-memory data store, you can say, and there are two variants, Redis and Memcached. So it is compatible with Redis and Memcached. These are open source caching services, and Amazon ElastiCache is built on both. So one thing is, if we are using the same Amazon ElastiCache for Redis and Amazon ElastiCache for Memcached, we cannot convert from one variant to another, and vice versa, because so far there is Amazon do not support that. Maybe in future that will happen, but for now we cannot go from one particular variant to another, the conversion, and vice versa. Then it improves the performance of the web applications by allowing us to retrieve information from fast managed in-memory system instead of relying on the slower disk-based databases that we discussed. And we can use this ElastiCache as a caching or in-memory layer that can be added to application architecture. So we can add it as as part of application architecture. So this can be done via either AWS Management Console, API, or CLI, and it integrates with lots of different AWS services such as AWS Lambda, AWS DynamoDB, AWS RDS, and AWS CloudWatch. There are several other services also with which Amazon ElastiCache integrate. So when we integrate with CloudWatch, so we can enable the monitoring for the cluster nodes to understand its metrics, and in case of one of the nodes gets failed, so it will be automatically managed by cluster system. We don't need to manage anything. This is fully managed service. The in-memory caching provided by Amazon ElastiCache can be used to significantly improve latency and throughput for many read-heavy application workloads, such as social networking, gaming, media sharing, and QA portals, or compute-intensive workloads such as recommendation engine. So these are all the use cases. There are other use cases as well, which are not listed on the screen, but they are whenever there is in-memory data storage required, in-memory web services, in that case Amazon ElastiCache is preferred. So Amazon ElastiCache for Redis and Memcached are the two variants. While Amazon ElastiCache is simple, Redis offers advanced features such as snapshots, replication, etc. We just discussed about the comparison, right, in the previous paper, the difference between both. So now let me you can see I already logged into AWS Management Console, and if you go to databases, under databases you can find here, you can see ElastiCache. This is in-memory cache service. So you can select the region of your preferred region. Say for now, in my case it is Asia Pacific, that is Mumbai region. And if you first time log in, you can see this home screen. It has some features, benefit, use cases, etc., which are mentioned here. Okay. You can check them out, and to the here you can see this is the page where we can get started, like ElastiCache dashboard. Okay, so here there are 3 steps: initial setup, plus create a cluster, and connect with your applications. Initial setup means uh, ElastiCache gives us, there are some security features as well, where we can prefer to launch this cluster in the VPC. That is Amazon Virtual Private Cloud. This is a isolated network. Uh, when there's a video on VPC as well that I had earlier created, so you can check it out. And we can prefer to create the VPC. So if the VPC is not created, then we can start with creation of VPC. If we already have a VPC, then we can use the same. Second step would be, after creation of VPC, will be creating a cluster. Here you can see, if I click, there are two options: create a Redis cluster, create memcached cluster, and third step would be connect with your application. So once a cluster has been ElastiCache cluster has been set up, we can create our applications which are, say, even on premises or running on some EC2 instances in the same VPC. We can do that. But see, if our applications is running in another VPC, and like that, in the applications are running in the different VPC, and ElastiCache is running in a separate VPC, then I think there are some other particular steps that we need to do in order to connect your application to use the ElastiCache. Okay, so I can click on create cluster, and say, for example, I can click on create memcached cluster. Now on this page you can see location. As I mentioned, even the application is on premise, we can do that. If the application are in cloud, there are two options. The location is AWS cloud, another is on premises. We can give it as name, say cloud cache 1. Description is optional. Under cluster setting, you can see there are these are the cluster engine. So the topmost is the newest version, and if you go down, this will be the oldest version. Okay, the ports, the port number that nodes accept for the connection is select here. It's automatically has detected this one. Parameter groups, cluster nodes. You can see there are lots of cluster nodes which are supported, such as R6, R5, M5. Okay, these are all the instances that it supports. You can select a node. As you can see, the maximum number of nodes is tiered to your service quota. So basically there is some service quota for each account particular to that particular region. So you need to check it out. What is the, if say we need to set up a 100 node cluster, it may not be possible because of the quota limitations. You need to check your quota for ElastiCache. So here there's a link below, you can check it out, the number of nodes that you can do. Connectivity is IPv4 and IPv6 and dual stack. There are three options. Subnet group. See, if the subnet is already created, we can go with the existing one. If not, we can specify the new. And here you can see VPC. I have my VPC MX01 VPC, so I can select this one, and you can see availability zones are automatically picked up. Okay, here you can see. If you don't have VPC, then you can go with a different VPC, or you can specify create VPC as well, so that you can create a new VPC. Here you can see for multi-user high availability mode, choose IDs for at least 2 subnets from 2 availability zones in the table below. So it says we need to specify at least 2 subnets from 2 availability zones. So these are the subnets for multi-user high availability mode. Okay, that we can do. We can tag, save, we can specify tag associated with the subnet group. Under availability zone placement, use the following fields to configure placement for availability zone. Here there are options like spread nodes across availability zone and specify availability zone. So that we'll discuss during the session, that we can spread our nodes across the availability zone. So if I click next here, then it will create a cluster. It will take few minutes based on the network bandwidth. And once the cluster has been set up, actually I'm not going to do that for now. Once cluster has been set up, then we can connect our application to this ElastiCache, and we can start using the in-memory service to improve the latency and performance of the web application tier. So that is something for friends. I hope you understood the concept, and you can explore the thing. It's very interesting. So I hope you liked the video. So don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. This is Cloud with Mohsin. If you have any queries, just feel free to write in the comment section. So I'll be very happy to assist you with your queries. So thank you friends. Have a great day ahead. Okay, bye bye.